Now, before I start the video, I want to make it clear that cramming is not the best way to study, and it's probably the worst way to study, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you absolutely need to do it. And I don't want you to get to the position where you absolutely need to cram and able to pass something or enable to you know to get an A or whatever it may be. So, um I've obviously crammed before. Everyone has crammed. No one's perfect. And uh it's not the best feeling to cram for a test. And if you want to cram and still get an A, you need to cram 1 week before, or at least a couple of days before. You can't cram uh, for an exam the night before it and expect to get an A. You might be able to pass, but you won't get an A if you don't know anything and the test is tomorrow. So the ideal cramming time is, between 4 days to a week. Yes, that is cramming because you are supposed to study, weeks in advance, especially if it's a hard test. And when I say weeks in advance, I don't mean studying, 8 hours a day, every day, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the test. That's not what I mean. I just mean that you're supposed to study at least, an hour every day, at least on the weekdays before the test, and maybe 2 3 and yeah, maybe 2 hours before the actual test. And that, I don't mean the day before the test, I mean a couple of days before the test. And ideally you should be resting before the test. Now, how do you cram? So I have this method that has always worked for me, and it's that you have to study at least 3 hours. So you study 1 hour in the morning, or morning slash noon, 1 hour in the afternoon, and 1 hour at night. Uh, and it has worked tremendously for me. So 3 hours. Think about what you can do in 3 hours, and these 3 hours aren't just like absolutely studying for 3 hours. It's you take long breaks, and you don't actually feel like you're studying, because what is 3 hours? 3 hours is nothing from your day, especially if you space them out like that, in the noon slash morning, afternoon, and then at night. It's not that much if you think about it. And time, just flies by when you study like this, 3 hours, once you space them out like this. And let's say the test is in like 4 days, okay? 3 times 4 is 12 hours. 12 hours is a lot. You can absolutely get an A if if you want. 12 hours is enough for you to get an A. Now, if you give yourself a bit more, some more time, and you study a week before the test, you cram a week before the test, especially if it's a big test, uh, then 3 times 7 is 21 hours. You're almost studying for 24 hours, which is a whole day. A whole day. So just think about how much time that is and what you can do with that time. You could do so many things, and you could absolutely get an A if you do this. And cramming, when I say a week before the test is cramming, I actually mean it, especially if it's a big test, or your finals or whatever it may be. Now, it might be hard to cram a week before the your finals and study for only 3 hours a day and get an A on your finals. I mean, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it certainly is hard. So I wouldn't recommend that you do it. Cramming for finals isn't the smartest thing to do, especially if you don't have high grades. Uh, so yeah, I hope that this video helped you, and I hope that you could implement what I taught you today. And yeah, hopefully you'll be able to study, a lot better and more efficiently. And I hope that this 3 hour technique helped you, because it really helped me. You know, an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, and an hour before you sleep, or ideally a few hours before you sleep. But at night, uh, I just found it to be very good, and I got a lot out of it. So yeah.